On the TV and on the campaign trail, Donald Trump is loud, Trump is controversial, Trump is confrontational. But what's Trump really like? To get the answer, I spoke with someone who knows him and worked with him. Barbara Ress is the author of All Alone on the 68th Floor. Barbara, you have some unique insight into Donald Trump. You worked for him for 14 years. He made your career, or really helped get your career off the ground. I'm curious, what do you think of Donald Trump, the man, and Donald Trump, the presidential candidate?
Well, I see them as being pretty much the same thing. What you see on TV at the debates is basically the Donald Trump I know. So what do I think of him? I'm good and bad. I like him and I dislike him depending on the time of day. He's not my candidate, so.
You wrote in the Daily News, Trump is not as bad as he sounds, but he's a lot worse than he says.
Right.
What do you mean by that?
Well, he sounds very, very sexist. But then he says that he's great for women. Well, he's not really great for women because of his horrible policies, but he's certainly not as bad as he sounds in terms of sexism. He gave me a tremendous break, and he hired a lot of strong women and gave us opportunities and promoted us and listened to us, and so he's not as bad as he sounds.
He's referred to you as one of the examples. Here's, I hired a woman to build Trump Tower. How does that make you feel when you hear him say stuff like that?
Well, I would feel better if he said my name, but I think it's still an amazing thing to me when I reflect back on it. I was working for the general contractor and I was the superintendent building the ballrooms and the kitchens, and he plucked me out of there and put me in charge of this incredible building. The Trump Tower will always be an icon in the city. It's different now than it was back when we opened it in the 80s. It doesn't have all the retail and everything, but it's still an incredible condo, wonderful luxury building.
So one of the big arguments that you hear both from Donald Trump and from his supporters about why he should be president is that he's a fantastic businessman and that he makes great deals. From your experience working for him and working with him, is he a fantastic businessman? Does he make great deals?
Yes, he's a very good businessman, and he has made some very good deals. He's made some not so good deals also. I've worked for a lot of very important people, and they've all made good deals. I mean, you wouldn't get to where you are without having that ability, and he certainly has that ability.
And yet he's sort of changed over the years. He built Trump Tower. You built Trump Tower for him.
Right.
But over the years, he's changed from being a builder to being really a licenser.
Yes, he doesn't build anymore. He's licensed his name. His name has a cachet with certain people that think that it's associated with luxury, and there's a reason for that because he did a lot of luxury projects. And so he's really a licensor and a TV personality from The Apprentice.
Was that, to your knowledge, a conscious decision on his part, or was his hand sort of forced to become that as opposed to do less on the building and more on the licensing?
I think probably he liked the idea of being more on the famous side and less of just a builder. He did that, he had done that and accomplished that, and I think he went out to do more.
So you think he wanted to be more of a celebrity?
Yes, I do.
And that was a conscious choice too?
And he wrote the book, and then he wrote another book, and that is what he wants to be. He wants to be famous.
Were you involved with his bid for the West Side project?
Yes.
Because he's calling that now, I built a city on the West Side. That
Right.
was a licensing deal.
It was originally his property, and we were going to get it approved to build the world's tallest building. That was going to be Trump City, it was called. It was going to be a pretty fantastic project, but there was so much opposition, and the opposition was so politically powerful. He ended up making a deal with them and changing the entire look of it, reducing the amount of square footage of it, and not building the world's tallest building. But during the time that all that was going on, he was having financial troubles. So there were several banks involved, and there were several properties involved. And it ended up that he lost his ownership of it, but retained an interest in it. And then whoever bought it wanted him to license it and build it and make it his one of his namesakes.
Which I suppose leads to the question as to whether the move to licensing, at least in that project, was his idea or whether it was sort of his hand was forced in that.
I think his hand was forced.
Okay. I want to make sure that we get to your book. You've got a copy of it with you. It's called All Alone on the 68th Floor, How One Woman Changed the Face of Construction.
Yes.
This is not a Donald Trump book. He's in there.
No. Yes.
But tell me a little bit about the book and the message for women that you want to tell.
Well, the book is about my experiences being an engineer in 1972 when I graduated, when there were less than 1% engineers, female engineers. Now there are maybe 20%, but the number has stagnated for so many years. It's really a problem in our country, getting women into non-traditional roles. And I talk about women in non-traditional roles and how they should not be defined by what they do. They define their work, they're not defined by it. It's very inspirational. It tells my story and what I went through, which was a lot of harassment, a lot of intimidation, but it also breathes some new life into the idea of women moving forward and breaking that glass ceiling, and it gives a lot of advice to women who are not necessarily trying to get into the corporate suite, just want to do their job and get promotions and do well.
How can we get the book if we want to get a copy at home?
It's available at Amazon and Barnes & Nobles.
Barbara Rest, thank you so much for the time and for the insight. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Up next, your Hudson Valley headlines. Stay with us.